Welcome to our presentation on Microsoft Azure. Azure is a popular cloud service provider that competes with AWS and other similar providers. Today we want to look at a couple of Azure's most common services. We will begin by discussing its history and use cases. We will then showcase some of the top services it provides. Finally, we will go over its cost and some of the advantages and disadvantages of Azure. Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing service created by Microsoft for building, testing, deploying, and managing applications and services through a global network of Microsoft-managed data centers. It provides software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, and supports many different programming languages, tools, and frameworks, including both Microsoft-specific and third-party software and systems. Azure was announced in October 2008 and started with the code name Project Red Dog, and released in February 1st, 2010 as Windows Azure, before being renamed Microsoft Azure on March 25th, 2014. Here are some examples of Azure's use cases. To summarize these, Microsoft tries to appeal itself to Microsoft shops. Azure makes it easy to integrate anything utilizing any of Microsoft's products. Today we will show you some of these products and services that Azure provides.
So to start with, we are going to demo a simple website we built for last year's Intex, which is the Northwest Pharmaceutical website. And in this site, I have created a bunch of different simple code, and we're just going to debug. And while we are waiting, let's go to the Azure portal to show you some of the use cases of Azure. Here I already logged into the Azure portal, as you can see, and I can simply create like a resource, or I can go to a different kind of services Azure provided. Right now I'm going to demo to you is how to create a Ubuntu server. You can simply go to create a resource, then go to Ubuntu server. Then you need to fill out some of the basic information. For example, you need to fill out the machine names. Like for example, I will name this the kettles number 2. And I will need to say the password and a username. I will say the username is kettles. And password is the best password. For time's sake, we're not going to demo each step how to create the virtual machine. You just need to simply know after you fill out all the information, you click review plus create. Then you will create a virtual machine. Here in my resource, I already created a virtual machine. And here it is, the kettles. This is a Ubuntu server I created earlier before this demo. And how are you going to connect it to this Ubuntu server then? You can see here there's an icon called connect. Once you click that, you will see there are two different options. One option is called RDP, stand for remote desktop. You can simply download a remote desktop file, then import to your remote desktop client software, then you can connect to your virtual machine within seconds. Now let's go back to the website to see if the website is finished debugging. Oh, here comes the simple website we have created. As you can see, there are a bunch of different tools you can use within this website. Now we are going to show you is how to deploy this website to Azure. Now let's close the debug. Now you go back to the main console. You can see here, you can right click the Northwest, then simply click publish. Then it will bring you to this page. You can publish your app to Azure. Now click start. Then you will have another window show up. You just simply click create new, then create publish. At the first time you click the create, it will require you to log into your Microsoft account. Once you log in, you will see this window. You just need to give the app a name, the subscription you use, and a resource group. I already created a resource group for our 531 class. Then you can just leave the rest of the stuff as default. then simply click Create. And this is going to take a while. While we are waiting, let's go to the demo, how to create a database for the website.
Great, so everyone loves a good database, and Azure has made it really easy for us to spin up databases in the cloud. Azure offers 3 different types of database that you can use. They offer a managed service where Microsoft will ensure the availability and performance for you by managing the database. Then they have the single database service, so you just need to spin up one database that you can go ahead and do that and store your information. Or they offer an elastic service. Let's say you don't know if you're going to have one database or 10 data buy. You can go ahead and spin up the elastic service and it'll grow as you need it to. Because you guys all know how to use Google, we're just going to go ahead and show you what you would do for a single database service. So if we go over here to our SQL databases, and we click on Add. Similar to the web applications, it's really easy to go and create it. So let's say you have a database that you need to go ahead and throw together. You can go ahead and type in the name. Go ahead and select your subscription, resource group. It's all very plug and play with Azure. For the sake of time, again, we're not going to go ahead and create it because it takes a few minutes to spin up, but we do already have a database that's already created here. So you can see once you have your database going, Azure offers a lot of services for you that you wouldn't necessarily get if you were managing it yourself, such as advanced threat protection that you can set up, automatic tuning, auditing, data masking, configuration, as well as setting up alerts for when different calls are made to your database and things like that. And just like any other Azure service, the SQL database is automatically configured, patched, and upgraded by Microsoft, and that helps eliminate administration costs.
Now let's go back to the website. Behold, the website has been deployed. Now you can simply go to the URL Azure provides us and browse to your web application. You can even use any kind of the function you have built for your code. For example, I have a chat box. Oh, it seems someone just replied our message. This is our demo.
Alright, so let's go back and talk about the cost and convenience of Azure. So Microsoft provides many different prices for the different products that they have on Azure. You can run Windows or Linux-based applications in 54 different regions, and they have free trials for most of their products on Azure, including free online cost management systems. And then they also have an online pricing calculator where you can estimate the cost. And in our tests, Azure is very competitive in their pricing compared to Google Cloud and AWS. You can see some of the sample pricing here, but many of them start at just fractions of cents for gigabytes or for hours or for a number of executions.
So just to go over, last but not least, some of the pros and cons of Azure. In the course of demoing, I think we've demonstrated pretty well a lot of the pros that Azure has to offer. When compared to a lot of other cloud service providers, Azure is very user-friendly. The forms are really easy to fill out, and a lot of the things that they have you do is just a button click does the job, as opposed to some cloud service providers which requires a lot more usage of command prompt or other more technical skills to make work. Other pros with Azure is high availability because it's run by Microsoft, and because there's so many data centers, putting your data in the cloud will allow it to be available almost any time that you need it. The second pro is security. This is another cloud-based advantage that Microsoft Azure provides. They provide a lot of security features for data that's put up there. And then, of course, there's scalability. One of the greatest benefits of the cloud is the ability to spin up servers as needed and pay for them on an as-needed basis. And then, last but not least, as we mentioned before, cost effectiveness, because you're able to take your information and turn the IT world into more of a variable cost as opposed to a fixed cost. It can really benefit a company in the long run to be able to put things into the cloud. The biggest cons that have to do with Microsoft Azure is that really Microsoft Azure requires you to use Microsoft products to really be effective. It can work with a lot of different other services, and it can spin up a lot of different other code projects, but it takes a lot more work. Microsoft Azure is really written for people who use Microsoft in a lot of what they do. And if your company doesn't necessarily do that, then Microsoft Azure is a little bit more difficult to use. It does require management, and it does require a little platform expertise, as any cloud service provider would as well. In conclusion, just to look at the vast amount of services that Azure has, it is perfectly competitive with cloud service providers like AWS. You can see that in the compute section, we see that most of the services that any cloud service provider would provide there, with virtual machines, cloud services with container services. We see that in the web and mobile section, they're really going out there with being able to host web apps as well as other types of applications. You can see at the bottom functions. Functions is similar to AWS's Lambda. You can see that we have a lot of data storage with SQL databases, again, a Microsoft product, so it works really well with that. And then in the analytics, one of the more hot items recently, you can see things like machine learning, which we've worked a lot with in other classes. They are moving more into the Internet of Things and identity and access management. Overall, Azure is a fantastic service that really does do a really great job at integrating with a lot of Microsoft's products. And if a business is using a lot of Microsoft products, Azure can be a great way to save costs and really get things out into the cloud without having to have too much technical background.